everyone, welcome to RSP podcast with me, Rajan Palmer. So today this episode is going to be talking about travelling in Brazil, and I've got two guests here with me. Introduce yourself, guys.
Hi, I'm Carmelo. I'm a pharmacy manager, and in my free time I just travel a lot.
I am Pol. I am a filmmaker and a barista. And I do not travel that much, but for several reasons I'm here.
But I suppose you're doing like what a lot of other people want to do, is that you come from Spain and you've come to live in England, which is what most people like. I mean, I have I want to go teach and live abroad. So I suppose that is what that's what most people want to do. But there's something not as I don't know, when you say it, you don't seem that excited about it.
No, because I guess I do not feel that I haven't really seen many countries. I mean, I remember I went with my parents when I was much younger. We went several places. I went on the north of Africa, but never. Like, since I came to England, I've been 5 years here, and this became my home. So it just like the initial excitement just went away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose the buzz. Was there a buzz when you first came to England?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I was proper excited.
So it's quite interesting because obviously you were born in Italy, weren't you? You were born in Italy. So it's quite interesting. Obviously, I've never had that sort of excitement of coming to the UK, but I recently I've started to appreciate.
It's exciting in one hand and it's terrifying in another, because in my experience, I came here without anything to lose, but obviously something very uncertain. So I was like, what's going to be of my life? I didn't have anything to lose back in Italy because I was, I finished my degree in pharmacy, and I was like, I don't want to stay here. So I came here and I tried to get through pharmacy, and it wasn't very easy. So for the first year, I had to obviously work as a waiter or night porter in a hotel and stuff like that. So it's been really hard. So it's exciting, but also it's demanding. And the majority of people quit. They just go back to their country. Yeah. And I'm not talking about only Italians. It could be, Spanish. It could be from Poland. It could be anything. But yeah,
it's quite hard here. So I remember when I've been travelling, like I was speaking to some guy who's from Spain, and he was saying like he had this really amazing image of coming to England. That you'd go to the pub and go watch the football, and it'd be like some sort of beautiful life for him.
Well, I guess life is not always flowers.
But he was saying that his friends, when his friends who have come to England, they're like, they don't speak to you. Like no one speaks to you. Like they're pretty.
Well, like who?
This is an example from someone who is Spanish who I met travelling, like that his friends had told him of people they'd come to England. And I suppose it is true, because in England you do see like we were talking about earlier, is that you do see like people do stay in groups, like groups of Italians, groups of Spanish people.
Because it's easier to get through the day.
They
can be understood and they can have more social life.
And I've been in I've worked in places where if someone can't speak good enough English, the English people aren't very understanding towards that as well.
Depends. There are two types of English people actually. People dealing with foreigners quite often, so they are very, they're very good. Other people, from like countrysides or people who never dealt with any kind of foreigner or traveller, it's impossible to communicate with them.
Yeah, but what you were saying, I guess when you come here as a foreigner and you don't speak the language very well, it's like quite easy to tend to, gather your own people and try to. But it's a really bad idea. Like, if you come from Spain, from Italy, and you just come to England and you are hanging out with Spanish, Italian people, like you're just not doing.
You're not really in England, are you?
You're not really getting into the culture, into the new culture. You're not really, most probably you're just gonna end up having Spanish friends, a Spanish girlfriend, and you're just gonna end up working in a foreign country. It's just stupid, which a lot of people do. I was very clear when I came that I did not want that, and for the first 3-4 years I completely avoided people from Spain. I met some at work, and I would work with them, but I would try to always make friends and even personal relationship with girls, always. No English or from from another country that would make me speak English.
It's very interesting actually when you think about that, because I was just thinking that obviously you actually hear like so many people that they say, oh, I met like English people, they say, oh, I met my wife abroad when I was teaching in Japan or something like that. And I suppose it's kind of the same sort of thing, isn't it? That you're on the other side of the world and you don't speak their language, so you gravitate to hang around with people who speak your own language.
Yeah. So so this person that you're talking about, what, like they end up with someone from Japan, or they
ended up with an English person or American or someone else who was from an English speaking country.
Yeah, that's something that can happen as well. There's this saying, when I came to England, like I remember I studied English for a year, and I remember there was in the book there was like this saying that it said, sometimes you travel to meet people from your country that you wouldn't meet otherwise.
That's actually a really interesting quote. Yeah,
because maybe you're in Spain and you're just surrounded by Spanish people, and it's like, you don't really talk or interact much with them. But then you go to England where everyone doesn't speak your language, and then when you meet someone from your country, it makes you interact with people that otherwise you wouldn't have.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because I suppose you have
it's like when you have a brother, like you didn't choose that person. Like he might be very different from you, but you are forced to interact with them.
Yeah, Paul's brother, shout out there. That is a good point. Yeah, no, it is a very good point. I suppose you always have a shared interest there as well in travelling, etc.
I mean, if I know that somebody's Italian when traveling abroad, I'm like, cool, that's fine. But I wouldn't really say let's hang out or something like that. I don't know. In my opinion, it's like, I know what your background is as Italian, so I haven't really got much to find out, to discover from you. And because I'm on holiday, like in a foreign country, I just want to get in touch with locals, for example, rather than just sticking with an Italian. Obviously I love my people and stuff, but because I see holidays as a discovery time, you are in a foreign country in a foreign speaking a foreign language, in a foreign environment, and everything is new for you. You need to make the most of it. So you don't really imagine, for example, you stick with an Italian group when you are in Brazil for the whole time. You go out with them and you come back and you do everything with them, and then you go back to England or to Italy or whatever. Is it really a true experience? So I mean, it's okay to have a partner, an Italian partner or whatever, to go there, but I am trying to avoid any Italian encounter. Anything else is fine. Anything else is fine, but.
Interesting. So let's go into your experience. So you've travelled to Brazil, right? So when was the first time you went?
I went last year.
Was that the first time?
Yeah, it was the first time. And I went it was 3 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So I basically, I just wanted to try Brazil because I've got a few Brazilian friends here in Brighton, and obviously speaking to them, you get closer to their culture, especially music. I'm a musician as well, so I like the type of music that they do, and step by step I got really into it, and I was like, I have to visit this country. And when I decided to go, I was really excited but also scared, because I asked my friends around and nobody could make it for the time I was able to go, so for a reason or another I was basically on my own. And I learned from past experiences that this is the time to go. You can't wait for your friends, otherwise you will wait forever. So I decided to go on my own, and obviously, as I said, I was excited but also a little bit worried, because going on your own, you have to be careful. You have to be careful because you don't have anybody watching your shoulders, watching your back, as you say. But that wasn't my first time I traveled on my own, so I was kind of used to it. But when you say, "Oh, I'm going to Brazil," people are scared.
Yeah.
Oh, Brazil! I've heard bad things about it.
I've heard
People kill you in the road, on the street, man.
Things about
You need to be
Brazil.
really careful.
I remember I was a kid and I heard in the radio, I think I was around 12, 13, and I never forget this. Like these Spanish, there were two Spanish couples. They went to Brazil to spend like some holidays, and they got like kidnapped, and they were trying to get some money back, and no one was answering their their requests, so they just killed them all. And I heard this shit, and it just scared the shit out of me from it forever.
Something that I learned going to Brazil is that people on their phone, they don't have like mum, dad, something like that. They have a contact with the full name. Why do they do that? So if you scroll down on the agenda where the contact list, you never see mum or dad or something like that, because if they kidnap you, they can obviously just find out who your mom is, who your dad is, and obviously go directly to
and just extort them directly.
I
see, yeah.
But if you say, "Oh, who's that guy? Who's that girl's name?" It's like just a friend. So it's harder for them to actually come up with your parents, who your parents are, and it's so common.
But I still suppose once they've kidnapped you and they've got your phone though, they could just be like, tell me which one your mum is. Surely,
I guess it's like some sort of precaution that they have. Obviously, I haven't spoken to anybody kidnapped already,
but yeah, like you're saying, because I've had crazy stories coming out of Brazil. But I mean, I'd love to go because like you said, there's the music, there's the football culture, like everything about it, like it looks amazing. Yeah. But out of the rest of Latin America, there's something about it which unnerves me. Even like Colombia has, which now it's meant to be fine, but it has had its bad days. And I've heard crazy stories from one of my friends who lived in Colombia, and he was saying that basically when he was younger, that he was on a bus, and the FARC terrorist group came out of the jungle, and they rounded people up on two different sides of the bus, and he heard bang, 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 and he only later realised that the people on the other side of the bus had been executed.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he said he didn't realise till like quite a bit later. But
I've got a few stories about Brazil as well. It's So I've been there twice now. So last year and this year. So I spent a long time.
Yeah.
Particularly long time there. And the reason why I went back is because I really, really love it. The experience that I had there is like, I can say is the best experience of my life.
What is it so cool, man? Like, what makes you want to go back there?
Right.
Where did you start as well? Like, where did you start? But why don't you tell us, like, go through your first trip and then tell us what you loved about it?
Right. My original idea was to how did it start as well? Because of my friends, of course, as I said, but also I saw on Facebook a friend of mine went to Brazil, and she went to Lençóis Maranhense, which is in the north. Now, if you're familiar with that, it's basically sand, white sand, dunes of sand
that go into like lakes, right?
Yeah, the lakes are actually like small lagoons, like small patches of water, because there is no water coming through. It's actually rain.
Yeah, I have seen these videos.
So they're like really small, right? But what happens is that it's just amazing. It's like a deserted area without anything, but the water is crystal clear. The sunshine is amazing, and it's just fine. And I was inquiring with my friend, where did you go? Where is it? Brazil. I don't believe it's Brazil, because obviously when you think about Brazil, you think about the Amazon. Yeah. You think about Rio, but Brazil is more than that. And I've realized that once I actually went the first time, and obviously the second time, my first idea was to go to this place, and I started planning. But Brazil is immense. Yeah,
it's
really
vast.
I think
it's something like the size of Europe or something. It's the size of Europe. All of the countries in Europe put together makes Brazil.
I don't really want to tell a lie, but I think it's more than 25 countries altogether. Yeah, as in states.
States. Yeah, the city states.
They,
right,
they're big, massive countries, and I was like planning. You get really. my thing is, if you go somewhere, you want to visit everything. I have this kind of thing, you know, I have to visit a lot of things as soon as possible, you know. But the thing is, I wouldn't really enjoy it that much because I'm not constantly running. So I had to basically just plan it very well. What happened is, at the end, I went somewhere, but not where I was meant to go in the first place, which was obviously this deserted place. So I went where I went, and I can tell you later where I went, but then I said, I have to go there, so I have to come back. That's why I went back there, and I finally did it. Now I've got some sort of thinking, I think I'm going to go back. I have to make up my mind, but it's just amazing. The stories and the things I've seen and I've heard, it's just amazing. Brazil is a beautiful country, and also with beautiful people, beautiful weather, and is about food, is about music. But there is something particular about Brazil that I didn't know before, and is the people's attitude of living life. So if you go to Brazil, you're actually on the street backpacking, you get in touch with common people, you know, not the elite and the 5-star hotel or something like that. You basically go to poor houses. If you know Couchsurfing, you know, you just go into people's house and you just share your experience, and they do your experience as well. So when you go there, you realize that people have almost nothing.
Yeah.
They kind of poor, but they're happy. And I'm like, how does it happen? Why? If you see them partying, they are like, it seems like they have no worries. But then when they finish partying, they go back to the previous life, which is like full of trouble, economical, financial trouble. Things are not working properly there. The government is what it is. So a lot of problems around a Brazilian, for example. But when it's time to party, they change, and they're very friendly. You know, I remember last time I went, I was trying to dance Samba. You know, I'm now quite good at it, but when I was trying to you know, lead my steps, somebody was like next to me trying to dance, and she was like, "Oh, you know how to dance? That's really cool. But you need to do this and that." So she was like, you know, there is no social barrier. They talk to you like you are their friends, or they know you very well. In England, obviously, my experience is, if you don't know people, you talk to them, it might be weird. In Brazil, it's so common. It's common that they talk to you without any problem, and they're very friendly. They make you feel special, you know. And I've learned that I have to be like that, because living in England, you absorb the type of attitude they have here, and I have to admit, I'm becoming like this. I'm becoming a little bit close. But traveling and going to warm countries, you realize that you have to improve yourself socially as well. So it's okay if you are friendly all the time. It's okay if you're happy. It's okay if you want to dance. It's okay if you're crazy partying and stuff like that. So Brazil is a really beautiful country for what people have given me, and for what I experienced as well. I mean, landscape is what it is. It's amazing. You can't see things like in Brazil. It's vast and various. You know, you can see the jungle, but you can see Rio. You can see this place I was talking, Lençóis Maranhense, but you can see also a canyon, which is Chapada Diamantina. So because Brazil is very big, you can see all sorts of things. And I guess.
So let's talk about some of these places then. So let's start with Rio. Let's talk about Rio.
Rio, okay. So if you think about Brazil,
just straight away.
Right, it's like asking the question. So you're in England, yeah? So how's London? Well, there is not only London in England, you know. So when you talk about Brazil, people think about Rio. I mean, it's fine, because Rio is very famous for a reason, and it deserves it. But there is also much more than that. But Rio in the first on my first trip, it wasn't on my list.
Oh, really? Not at all. So where did you fly into?
I flew to Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo.
So my idea of having holidays is to get away from the city. If you fly to Sao Paulo is a very big city. Think about New York. Think about London 3 or 4 times busier. This is Sao Paulo, and I refused to actually spend time there. So once I landed in Sao Paulo, I took the flight to Recife. Recife is on the eastern coast of Brazil. So I refused to, just because that's my way of having a holiday. It's just relax without any skyscrapers or anything like that. Nothing like this. So I went to Recife, which is a really nice city, and I actually used Couchsurfing for the first time.
I've never used it. Yeah.
Man, it's an experience. Couchsurfing, for who don't know what it is an app. You can get in touch with travelers like you in the country, wherever you're going. But you can also get in touch with locals. You can get in touch with locals for a beer, for hanging out. But you can also ask them if they're okay to stay at their place. And I asked this guy, imagine this, you travel on your own, you go to like miles and miles away from home, you go to a different country, and you ask a stranger to basically sleep at theirs, and you have no idea what's going to happen. They can rob you, they can kill you, they can do whatever. Life is full of weird things, but you need to also have hope and trust. You know, you have to risk a little bit sometimes.
You got to give people the benefit of the doubt. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Otherwise, I mean, I'm really glad I actually went through this, because obviously I wouldn't have experienced what I had experienced. So I trusted this guy, and this guy was amazing. That was maybe the warmest person that I've met in Brazil. So he was like welcoming me like as a brother. You know, he gave me a bed, he gave me everything I needed. Of course, it's not a hotel. Of course, it's not. You don't take things for granted. The shower is what it is.
Yeah.
The food is what it is. The kitchen. You can't complain of what you get. That's how Couchsurfing works. But you don't pay for it. You have free accommodation, man.
Yeah.
And it's like,
it's crazy. What I also use is something called Work Away, where like it's a similar thing where people host you, they give you free food and accommodation.
And they give you free food as well.
No, well,
not every.
You go shopping and you buy.
There is a mutual exchange. I offer to cook, for example. I offer to clean sometimes. So depending on what they need, or for example, when we went out, I offered to pay the Uber, you know, the taxi, stuff like that. You know, obviously you don't want to take advantage of people, because people are doing good to you already by accepting you.
Yeah, because I was wondering, what do they get from that?
It's the whole idea of cultural exchange, isn't it? They host you, and then they get to learn about your culture and then and things you do.
And it's like, do you beforehand? Do you speak how long you're gonna stay there for?
Yeah, I mean, you arrange the necessary.
You get in contact,
Yeah, it's like, oh, look, I need to stay in Recife for like 3-4 days. Can you host me? Yes, fine, no problem. So you get this.
And like, did he confirm it? Like that? Or
beforehand,
beforehand?
Yeah.
I mean, it can be tricky for them, because you can get really cheeky people.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's also
and
the
then
thing.
have a problem at home.
Let me tell you this, Couchsurfing works on a feedback rating system as well. So it's also true that it didn't have any rating, to be honest, because it was the first time actually. I mean, this is crazy, man. This is crazy. But I was reading. I don't know if you're familiar with Jordan Peterson.
Yes, I know Jordan Peterson. Yeah,
it's an amazing, a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And I almost finished the 12 Rules for Life, and he was basically explaining a concept where you have to be good to other people to start with if you want people to be good with you. So the thing is, automatically we're thinking, I'm not gonna be good with you just because you're not good to me. But somebody has to do the first step.
Yeah.
So how does it work? In my case, they did it first. They actually welcomed me, and I was so grateful that I had to exchange that. I had to pay back, and the more they do for you, the more you want to do. Unless you're a wicked man.
Yeah.
Unless you're just,
Yeah.
you know. But what happened was, it was harmonious, you know, staying with them. Obviously, it wasn't just him, because he was taking other travelers abroad.
Oh, really? So what, he had quite a big house, or?
Well, he had a 2-bedroom flat, but obviously he used the sofa as well. He had some beds as well. It was like
just hosting
crazy.
People. Just
yeah, like
people.
this. Obviously, you can't complain of what you
Yeah,
get,
that's
but you still sleep, and you are on a.
So he's just running a free youth hostel.
Yeah,
basically.
but what's the gain? The gain for him is having a chat and sharing experiences and hanging out with different people, and you know, you can make friends this way.
Yeah.
This friend I met and I went very well on with, I actually met him again on the second travel.
Oh, really?
I had to see him.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm actually coming to Recife. I don't know if you want to host me or if you can't host me, but I would love to meet you, even for a coffee or for a beer. Yeah. But I have to. So you make friends this way.
Yeah, I actually had a similar experience when I went to Jordan. The first time I arrived in Jordan, I met up with this guy who he'd met one of my friends while they were traveling in India, and as soon as I got to Jordan, he was like, I went into McDonald's, we were waiting for them. He came up and then he paid for my meal. Hadn't even met him. He just straight away paid for my meal, and then he was literally just offering to buy us everything. Like, and I was like, dude, you got to stop. Like, you know, I got to give you something.
Where was this?
In Jordan. In Jordan, in Aqaba.
People there are very generous.
So nice. Yeah. It was my first experience of the Middle East. I've never experienced anything.
That's what you find in Brazil as well. So about Rio, so it wasn't my first city. It wasn't even on the plan. So I went to Recife first, and then I went to Fernando de Noronha. Fernando de Noronha is an island. It's accessible only flying. You have to take the plane from Recife. Fernando de Noronha is like a posh island. For a Brazilian, it's a bit expensive for them. Obviously, from if you come from Europe, England, it's not that big deal. But it's like a paradise. Praia do Sancho has been awarded as the best beach in the world for some time, and it's full of wildlife. You know, like fish. You go snorkeling. You don't have to go into deep waters. You can see fish, crabs, anything, even small sharks. You know, on your feet. You know, stuff like that. So I went there, and obviously I had experiences there for a few days. I went back to Recife, and then I carried on with Manaus. Manaus is basically the platform to actually go to the jungle. Where everybody goes. After Manaus, I went. In Manaus. Then after the jungle, I came back to Manaus and I went to Presidente Figueiredo. Brazilians don't know about this place. If you talk to somebody in Rio, São Paulo, Recife about Presidente Figueiredo, they have no idea what it is. What it is a small village, but it's got loads and loads of waterfalls. And they are spectacular, they are amazing, and it's full of them, and caves as well. So I spent there another 3-4 days, and I had time left, and I didn't really want to go back to Manaus because Manaus is not really an interesting city, in my opinion. So there is really little to do, and I was like, what can I do now? I did the crazy idea to go to Rio.
Oh, really?
I bought a very expensive flight because it was last minute. But I never regretted it.
Oh, really?
That was the best experience ever. That was the highlight of my travel.
What, Rio?
Rio
so
was
then,
amazing.
so like you're saying, it is like that for a reason.
But for a reason, yes. Although it sounds a little bit cliche, what happens is that I'm into Samba, but also pagode. Roda di Samba is one of the best popular musics alongside with forró. forró. I don't really like forró. It's like a dancing type of music, and if you see people dancing it's kind of similar to salsa, more or less. But I don't really like the music. I don't really like the dance. What I really like is Roda de Samba. Roda de Samba is man. If you listen to it, you feel the happiness like hitting you, not even touching you. It's like hitting you on the face. The whole body gets absorbed with that. And I remember, the thing that I remember really clearly about Rio was that it was a Saturday, and I had to go out, and through a network of couch surfers, they went out and they invited me, or I joined them, and they took me to a place called Vaca Atolada. Vaca Atolada is basically a small pub. No, it's not a pub. It's like a bar with a dance floor. Man, if you see it, it's like, what's that shit? It's like the most horrible place on earth. There's like everything is falling apart. There is like only one small counter. It stinks of beer, people sweating in there. Consider it's summer, like 30-35 degrees. Even at night, you have no rest. It's hot all the time, man.
Yeah, I can imagine.
People are crazy. And what I found there, I found the best place on earth in that club. Why? Because they were Roda de Samba means that people are, the musicians are actually sat down around a table and they play the music, different instruments. And they just go on and on and on. It's like they actually don't pause. They don't stop, not even for a drink or anything. They just constantly, something that I notice is like, when are we gonna have a break? People don't care about breaks there, man. People just go on and on and on about just obviously playing samba, and on the other side, people don't stop dancing. So what I found there was like the best atmosphere ever.
Nice.
And it was the first Sunday as well. The next day was the first Sunday of the month. And as every first Sunday of the month in Rio, if you go into Lapa, which is our neighborhood, it's like full of things to do and little gigs on the street. So you see like little groups of people dancing, playing music, and it's amazing. I've got videos about it. It's like all people there know about the songs played, and they sing along. And they dance. Man, I can't explain it very well, but it's like you had to be there in order to understand what it means. And I felt really, really, really well, just because it's just a different attitude. The attitude of Brazilians partying is different. I've never seen it in my whole life.
Yeah, this is actually like we were discussing earlier. Obviously we were talking about An Idiot Abroad, and there's one episode where he goes to Brazil, and one thing he was saying is they literally don't need an excuse to have a party. You can't get away from it. Every street corner you turn around, there is a party. And it's like, obviously, I mean, to him, if you see his personality, he seems boring as hell. But I mean, to me, that sounds amazing. It sounds so awesome.
That's why it's an experience, man.
Yeah. Like you were saying before, that they kind of change. They have all these problems and they just forget about it. Like maybe that's what they do.
It's the release, isn't it?
It's the release of just get fucked and have fun.
I mean, you would believe. I mean, you would think that they would be very sad because of what's happening in their everyday life, so they're not really willing to party. This is not that. It's like they change completely. How can you be that happy when things are falling apart around you? And it's just amazing. If you listen to Brazilian songs, there is always, they bang on a principle. Is basically just don't worry about life, man. Enjoy the moment. Money is not important. Family is. Friends are. So they focus on something else rather than money. And if you come from England, you come from a different, really maybe the opposite perspective.
It is literally.
Here is all about money, man.
Yeah.
Here is all about career. Is people are on their own. They are alone, and they pay for a carer. When you're old, to care about you. That doesn't happen there, man. They have no money.
How good is that?
It doesn't even happen in, to be honest, most other cultures of the world, does it? Really, it doesn't really happen. Like I come from Indian culture. I mean, that would never happen.
We're so alone.
Yeah,
and we're so afraid of asking any favor to anyone, and to get close to people and to have any fucking real interaction.
Well, go to London and ask the time. They're gonna run away thinking
yeah. And what you said before, like I felt it in myself as well. Like the long I've been living in England, I felt like I become more close to myself.
Yeah.
Like I cannot be bothered sometimes by people. It's like what the fuck's going on with me? Why am I so picky? I'm such a
you become like this because you're so
grumpy and I want to be on my own. And for what? What for?
For example, I can give you a lot of examples how people are amazing there. One of the things was that when I was in Manaus or in Presidente Figueiredo, where all the waterfalls are, I was in a hostel and I met a guy from Brasilia, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is the capital? Rio.
Yeah,
Rio is the capital.
No, it's not.
It is Brasilia.
Brasilia is the capital.
Everyone always thinks Rio is the capital.
This guy was like trying to collaborate to, it was a nice friend. Long story short, but we hung out together for a few days and we spoke a lot, so we kind of became friends, right? And I was like, man, I think I'm gonna go to Rio, and this guy was like, oh, Rio? Hang on a minute. I know somebody from Rio. He lives there. He can give you a shelter.
Really?
Like, this is amazing. And basically, Rio, for people who know or heard about Rio is dangerous, okay? You need to choose where you're staying carefully. So I ended up staying at my friend's house, and it was in Ipanema. No, it was actually in Leblon. Leblon is the posh area. It's like people walk on the street with their phone. Something that you couldn't do in Lapa, for example, or in the center. You can't do it. In Leblon, there is a lot of police, people that have money there, and there is pretty much nobody from the favelas. So I ended up in a very expensive house, on a very expensive bed, in a very secure house, in a very secure area. Why? Just because I knew somebody somewhere else. So they helped me. So I didn't pay anything for that. I mean, you're not used to this in here.
No way.
If you use Couchsurfing in Europe, it's not going to work.
No.
If it works, that means that the people there are from other countries. It doesn't work.
They're expecting some money back.
Yeah, or maybe something. Well, Couchsurfing is all free. It has to be all free.
It has to be free, but obviously
it has to be free.
Yeah, but you obviously give something in exchange. It doesn't have to be money. You do me a favor, I do you a favor, and that's amazing. That's how you build relationships. And I'm still friend with them, of course. And I'm so grateful. If they say, man, I'm coming to London or Brighton, I need something, man. Yeah. Be my guest. Yeah. What do you need? I'll do it for you, man. Yeah. And that's how it works. So, coming back to Jordan Peterson thing, you have to start being good to people. Otherwise, if you expect somebody else to do it, it might not happen. It might not happen. Especially in this country, man. So you have to be nice. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not.
It's not. It's so hard. We were going back to having this discussion earlier. I remember when I was living in Cambridge, I hadn't really travelled as much as I had before, but I had travelled and I had started to get this mindset of you need to be nice to people. My neighbour came and knocked for a bowl of sugar. And I thought, you're taking the mickey, aren't you? There's a 24-hour shop down the road. You close the door. And
exactly that.
That's so terrible of me. It's only a bowl of sugar. I didn't even have any sugar, actually, saying that. I didn't say, no, I haven't got any sugar. I was just like, who do you think you are to ask? And I remember feeling so bad about that.
I've been
Yeah, it is bad. Yeah, I do still feel bad about that.
Well, I've been sharing a room when I was at uni with a guy from Tunis, and he has this kind of warm behaviour, as pretty much everyone in Tunisia or Morocco, in this part of the world.
My experience of Morocco isn't very friendly.
Well, I give you that because you're a tourist. A tourist.
But see, even the way, I suppose, it worked out. I was a tourist.
I've been to Morocco as well, and people, I was nearly into a fight with somebody.
Yeah, someone threatened to cut my throat over it.
I'm gonna kill you, stuff like that, because they see you as a ATM machine,
Yeah.
It's what?
ATM machine. You got money. You're from Europe, man.
Yeah.
You got money. That's why.
Cash.
Yeah.
They're very cheeky.
Yeah, they literally see you as walking like £5 notes and stuff. They'll literally take.
They're very cheeky.
Yeah.
They're very cheeky. Very tiring as well. But this guy I was sharing my room with at uni, he's the same. He's really welcoming, and when I said to him, can I use this, he was giving me what I wanted and more. And it's like, I'm not used to this. I have to counteract that. I have to do the same.
That's what you were saying before about this guy from Jordan that you met.
Yeah.
And I had this experience when I came here to England. I was studying, as I said, I was studying English for a year. I was studying with many people from the Gulf, like many Arabic people, and it surprised me their generosity. They always were willing to pay for. Some of them got a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they were like very, but even between each other, I remember observing them and always like they have this culture of being generous to each other.
It's very common.
And just being nice.
We don't have
like
much in Europe.
Maybe in the southern part of Europe,
But like in England, for example, if you went to go if you were at a house party or something and you're in a room with some people you don't know, the conversation still is like a little bit awkward, sort of straight at first, isn't it? But I noticed But I noticed like in Egypt, in the Middle East, like people are talking to each other like just straight away, like they've known each other for ages. And like when I was in Dahab, a lot of people were from Cairo, so I thought maybe they do know each other. Oh no, we met like 20 minutes ago. We just met at the beach, and they're talking like they like went to school with each other. It's crazy.
It's the same thing with Couchsurfing, for example. When I went to Rio and there was this kind of party among Couchsurfers, I went there and it didn't feel awkward or anything. They were like, "Yeah, man, how are you doing?" and stuff like that. Obviously they spoke English to me because they had to integrate me. It was nice because all of them could speak Portuguese between each other, but they decided because I was there to speak English. So
that's really nice.
Something to take into account.
That's massive as well. Like,
it is.
That's really like big to show that they included you in the conversation.
Yeah,
that's massive.
I had this kind of encounters there. People are amazing, and obviously, any sort of encounter, pleasing encounters as well. But also, you have to be careful where you go.
And so, how did you learn this? Because this is the one thing I personally want to know as well. How did you learn? Because it's obvious that keep your wits about you and just keep an eye out and stuff. But there's got to be another layer to it where, like I say, maybe you get knowledge from locals about when and where not to go. Did you spend much time in favelas and etc.?
Right. Okay. So people who never been to Brazil but heard of it, they just panic when you say, "I'm going to Brazil." Oh no, they're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
People from Brazil that live here, when I said to them, "I'm going to Brazil," they just said, "Be careful. Don't stay with your phone in your pocket or in your hand." So try to be considerate. Obviously, you can hide it everywhere.
What are you supposed to do with it then?
With a phone, you just leave it like.
If you have like a shoulder, like
there.
something a shoulder, like is fanny pack? Is that the word?
Yeah,
like just something where you can maybe tuck it in your trousers or something.
Man, in there are people selling it as it was like popcorns. It's like so common. Common.
I bet you they sell like burners and like new phones and stuff like crazy as well.
So it's dangerous, but you need to. Okay, for example, Rio is dangerous. So depending on where you go, it is dangerous. Recife, you have to be careful. People have been killed there as well. These are the most dangerous places I've been. In Recife at night, in Boa Viagem, which is like a neighborhood on the beach, at night, 11 o'clock, you're already looking for trouble.
Really?
You have to stay at home.
Really?
Yeah? It's kind of deserted.
Yeah.
You're looking for trouble, man. And
so if you stay after 11, you're
yeah. People will see you as a tourist. Of course, you have a tourist face, man. No matter how you dress up, it's something
it's
that you
even
have to
the way
consider.
you
Yeah, literally, I was going to say your mannerisms.
I think I would feel uncomfortable. Like you just can feel how uncomfortable you feel, how different.
And they'll look for some. I mean, they know. They'll look for people who look uncomfortable, look panicking, because they're going to be like, because they'll probably put up the resistance.
Bro, like a bunch of guys, they come to me over there.
It's... I'll tell you something. I've seen, I've taken my phone to call an Uber very quickly. It must have been like a few seconds. The time to call an Uber. And I was on the street, watching out like crazy, being aware. And few people passing by, they said, "Hey man, careful." Locals. They said, "Man, careful." Because obviously literally nobody has their phone on their hands. Nobody. And I've seen other people, like tourists, that was actually really smart. What they did, there was a girl, she needed her phone, I don't know, maybe to call an Uber as well. So she placed herself in the middle of a big roundabout in the middle of the street.
Yeah, that's smart.
So obviously, if somebody comes towards you, you can kind of realize it. I don't know how much you can do, but obviously...
Oh yeah, because you're trapped in the middle of a motorway.
But, it's something, because most of the people just grab it and then run away.
And you see the
kids, man.
And with guns, people chase them down the street with guns and stuff. Like, it looks like the Wild West over there.
But they're just like looking at you, like these kids. They're looking at you, they're following you, and you know what they're up to. You can tell what they're up to, but they're still they get you and they just run.
Well, I mean, I stayed in a very posh area in Rio, so I didn't risk that much. But obviously, I had to get in touch with poverty. And on my second trip, I actually went to a favela to live there.
Live there?
Yes.
So how long were you spending there?
I spent 4 days. I was planning to spend 3 days, but then at the end I spent 4 days, just because of different plans. And obviously with Couchsurfing, so I asked this guy in a favela. The favela is in Rio Comprido. It's meant to be a kind of a secure favela, but what happened to me? I mean, it's secure, right?
But I mean, what is a secure favela?
A secure favela is where you don't really have a lot going on. It's kind of residential, and people are calm. There is no drugs or weapons involved that much, but it's also because there was a police station.
I see.
There in the favela, so people feel quite secure, although there is a lot of corruption there.
But then, so what would you? Sorry to interrupt. But what would you define the favela as? Like, how would you define a favela?
A favela is basically it's like it's the poorest area of a city. I mean, favela can be anywhere, not just in Rio. Okay, it can be in Recife, it can be in Olinda, it can be in Salvador, and it's basically full of poor people not having a lot of education, for example, who fall into drugs and weapons just because that's the way they have to go through.
It's the only way to make money as well.
It's the only way to survive sometimes. So you have to be clever and do this kind of stuff. And what happens is between favelas, a favela is, you see favelas as very crowded. You see these very bad houses. They're not even houses. They're just shelters.
Like tins, shells.
They're very poor. There is nothing. I mean, if you want to rob a favela, good luck. It's like nothing in there, man. It's just, what are you coming from for? So it's very poor. And that was meant to be a secure one, just because of police and people are not really involved with weapons and stuff. But what happened to me? One day I was going out very early in the morning, and when I opened the front door to actually get out, I saw literally. I mean, if you are in a favela, you see that the roads, the streets there are really narrow because everything is cramped. It's really like everything, like this. When I opened the door, I saw this guy. He must have been like literally 16 years old, with a Kalashnikov or something that big. It was like. It was like a
rifle or
something automatic. I mean, I'm not really good with weapons, but that looks like impressive, man.
Well, this wasn't the favelas.
Yeah. And it was basically what happened was, I didn't say a word. My heart was pounding, of course. I was like, man, I'm here if you want to shoot me.
Yeah, it's like you're not running from that, are you?
No, can you run?
Yeah.
It's like
you're just fucking paralyzed.
Yeah. If you
might die right now.
If you see a polar bear or like
there's this video I was watching on Joe Rogan. Some guy was on there, and it was a video of he was going to tranquilize a lion in South Africa, and it was like a special. Like they were thinking that there was something about this lion. It had a gene from an extinct lion in it, and that's why it was really bigger and stronger. And so they tranked it, and if you see a picture, I'll show you all something afterwards. It's big. It's this big lion, and so the vet had only given the guy a dart for an average sized lion. So he's walking up because he thinks it's down, and then it gets up and it looks to him, and you literally see him just drop onto the floor. Like he's like I'm dead now. Like he can come up and get me.
Well, the guy.
Yeah. Luckily the lion was so sort of drugged up he couldn't really tell where he was,
right.
and he got up and then went back down. But you see the guy he literally everything in him stops working, and he just flops to the ground.
Man, you freeze completely. Your mind doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
This is the adrenaline. Either you flight, or,
And because we've I'm no biologist. I've never seen lions in the wild. This guy's a biologist. He knows what a male lion will do to you if he gets you. It's not.
You won't survive.
It's not nice.
Yeah,
it would be nice. Right?
It would not be nice. Have you seen there's the Louis Theroux documentary when he was doing one on because in Africa they do breed lions and hippos and stuff and rhinos just for hunting. There's an extinct rhino. There's one that's seen in this Louis Theroux documentary where black rhino, which might even be extinct now. At the time, there's only 4 or 5 left in the world. And the guy and Louis like, you can get a rhino to shoot, and the guy in South Africa goes like, if you want 20 rhino, I can get you 20. And there's only 5 left in the wild. He's like, if you want 20 to shoot, I can get you 20 to shoot.
Well,
because that's how the money is made in Africa. That apparently, he was saying this is how Africa works.
What?
He's saying we cut everything and we kill everything, and he said if you want the animals to survive, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be in touch with when I travel. I want to just get in touch with the locals, and I want to see what poverty is, because everybody. I mean, it's pointless to just stay in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
You don't get the feeling of a country if you don't speak or you have nothing to do with locals. Okay, whatever they are.
Yeah.
You have to speak to the locals. And obviously in Rio, favelas are really famous. And I had to be in the favelas. When I stayed in the favelas, I was the happiest person on earth. Just because I was dealing with locals and I was learning a lot about them, and it's a mutual exchange, and it's just amazing. Obviously the guy was really lovely. We hung out together. He was working at that time, and I can only see him in the evening, so we went partying, of course. And it's there is no idea of having a week. I mean, in here, if you go out Friday and Saturday. In Brazil, it's not that. It's constantly every day.
Yeah.
Like us lately.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That is true. God, where were we then? But how did I was going to ask, how did you organise staying in a favela then? Because I'm guessing you can't just rock up to one.
Well, obviously you get in touch with this guy from Couchsurfing, and obviously.
Was it through Couchsurfing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't even given a key, so I had to knock the door, and the mum was always in the house.
But you had to make your own way there. Like, did you have to like?
Oh no! This guy picked me up.
Oh, he picked you up. Okay,
of course,
okay.
yeah. I wouldn't
This
know.
is what I was wondering about. Like,
also because imagine you like looking for directions on your Google Maps.
Yeah.
On the favela.
Or asking someone for directions. Oh yeah, come down this dark alley with all of my mates.
Something really curious about favelas is like, I asked the guy, well, I could actually come on my own if you give me the address. And this guy said something to me that I will never forget. He said, address? What address?
Yeah.
He said, we don't have address. We know where we live, but we don't have address. And I said, how does the postman reaches you? Postman?
Yeah, I can imagine.
What's a postman, man? It's like, we don't receive anything. It's just a different world. And obviously, if you look for directions on Google Maps is like, sorry, I can't really help you.
I've looked in that just because I was meant to be in Africa, in Rwanda and Congo, and it's really similar. They have like a number and a letter or something, and you just got to find it. And I was looking at Google Maps like, this is ridiculous. If I'm going to be alive, there's no point using this.
It was quite thrilling. It was quite thrilling because I had the chance to go out on my own, for example, without him, of course. And when I went back home, I went back around 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I was literally a foreigner in a foreign country, not speaking the language Portuguese, in a favela at 1 o'clock in the morning, in a fairly dangerous place, on my own.
We're looking for trouble.
I was like,
he's one of the people looking for trouble.
You see what I mean? Obviously, you need to be careful, but don't look for trouble. Obviously, if you want to avoid it.
Have you had like? Did you have any problem like? Apart from that moment where you saw that guy with the gun, was there any moment where people came to you and tried? I don't know. Like...
There was. I don't know if I should say that, but something that I'm not really proud of is a different experience that I had in Recife. And when I said to you, if you walk through Boa Viagem, a neighborhood, after 11 o'clock, you're definitely looking for trouble. And I don't know what I was doing then, literally. Maybe I was looking for parties or stuff like that. I was just visiting the area, really, because everybody was talking about Boa Viagem. So I went on my own, and I had my little walk at night. And at some point, there is this guy, all sweat. He was just, he finished running at some point, or he stopped catching his breath or something. And he asked me something, I don't remember what he asked me, but basically he approached me in a way, and I was visibly scared, as in, I had to be careful with him. And he was like, asking me a lot of questions, and I just replied because I think it was kind of friendly, but still it was dodgy between us. We went on and on and on. Oh, he knows I'm Italian. Oh, I like Italians, stuff like that. Oh, I know how to speak Italian. He could speak a little bit of Italian, stuff like that. So what happened at the end is that he said to me, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, "Maybe I'm just looking for a party." Oh, yeah, okay. I'm gonna help you finding the party. Now, either you're very generous or you got some bad intentions, right? But I was like, okay, that's fine. He was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm not gonna like kill you or stuff like that. I know what people say about
that's really true. He said he won't.
I know what people say about Recife. This is a nice place. Don't worry about it. Stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So he asked me, long conversations, stuff like that. And at some point when we were walking, I thought this guy was a local, but okay, so because he said, I'm gonna help you finding a place. Because I know the area. But at the end, he started asking other locals on the street for a place where to go. And I was like, are you actually local or not local?
Was it Brazilian?
He was Brazilian. It was Brazilian. Yeah. But maybe it was from a different city, not far away from it. So this didn't really click on my head, and I was like, this is really dodgy. I need to get out of this situation. What happened next was that, he was starting to say, oh, you're Italian, oh, you're so good looking, or you're so here, you're so there. He started actually being a little bit weird with me. And at some point he just started touching my arm, like, oh yeah, stuff like that. We were still walking, and he was like, "Oh, you go first. Oh yeah, that's a nice, that's a, you know, that's a nice arm. Do you train stuff like that? You know." He started saying things like that. I was like, "Gosh, this this is not happening." You know, I don't know what's terrible, if they rob you or they rape you, or just an advance, you know, just hitting on you. I don't know what's worse. So at the end, basically, he said, we couldn't find any party. It was dead, and he said, "You know what? Let's have a drink in a pub. You know, they don't call it pub; they call it bars or stuff like that." I said, "Okay." So we sat down in this restaurant. It was a restaurant actually. We sat down, and he was like all sweat and very tired. He was like, "Do you know what? I'm gonna just, go to the toilet and have a wee. I'll be right back." Man, I ran away. Literally, I ran away. I hid myself in a McDonald's toilet for a few minutes just to make sure he wasn't following me or anything. I was like so scared. I didn't know what I was going to. So this is, I don't know if it's dangerous, but this is one of the most challenging experiences.
Depending on what you like, bro. Depending on what you're into, bro.
That was,
To be fair, so obviously you were talking to me about couchsurfing. Is the first actual experience I heard of couchsurfing was some Russian guy I knew. When I was in Jerusalem, he'd gone to stay in Bethlehem, couchsurfing with some guy, and he went out for drinks and stuff with him. And then when they got back to like his house, like they were like, it was like the Russian guy was like, "Oh yeah, I'm tired, so where am I sleeping?" He was like, "Oh, there's only one bed." And I was like, all right then. So I guess so what? Where are you gonna sleep on the sofa? He was like, "Oh no, we share." I was like, "All right," like Palestinian guy. And then in the night, he feels like a hand moving over his thigh.
Man, I'm not kidding.
That's like being a spider. You're like a spider putting people.
Man, I'm not kidding you. When I was in Rio, this lovely guy, I didn't know he was gay. But we shared the bed. I didn't know he was gay because he was still talking about his ex, but now I found peace without any woman and stuff like that. We talked a lot and stuff like that. I was like, I would never think he would be gay. Right, what happened is, he said to me, "This is the bed, so I'm afraid we're gonna share if you don't mind." I was like, "Cool, bro, it's fine." I mean, the last night, it was actually 6 o'clock in the morning, I actually felt the touch on my shoulders. Like, what's going on? What's going on?
Fuck, bro.
Literally, man, I don't know if I can say this, but...
Well, obviously we're not saying this. We're not obviously saying this to be homophobic. We're saying touching up anybody while they're sleeping is wrong.
No
matter what sex.
Well, it's about consent and obviously...
Because like, just someone you've been hanging like another dude, bro. You were positive he was fucking heterosexual. And it just turns out that he fancies you.
It's the same dimension as that if you know someone, if a girl fancies you, then it kind of changes it. Not like I would know, but
it's true in any circumstance. If you're a guy hitting on a girl and happens for you for that girl to actually sleep on the same bed, I mean, you don't do that.
Exactly.
It's like wrong in any case. I'm not obviously saying anything else, but it was weird. It was pretty much a big experience for me. I never experienced anything like that.
Because it's not very nice. It's just in general, it's just not a nice experience, is it? To be touched up while you're sleeping.
So that was. Brazil is a nice experience, but obviously you have something to be careful.
They're very open.
They are very open sexually.
I found that they are very open sexually for Carnival.
Oh really? I heard like Copacabana Beach. There's like there's massive bits of like the beach which are like famous for I think like particularly like nudists and stuff like that, because like in the 60s when it was under military dictatorship, they'd go there, they'd smoke weed, and all the artists would go there and smoke weed and share their ideas and things.
I mean, Rio for Carnival is like the most cliche carnival. It's touristic. I mean, it's. You find a lot of people from Brazil there, but obviously tourists.
It looks like a whale of a time. It looks like people are having an amazing time.
But that's why I didn't go there. I didn't go there for Carnival, man. Because I've got this kind of attitude of, going against the flow, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I searched for the best carnival apart from Rio, and 2 other options have come up. One is Olinda, and the other one is Salvador. Now, if you think about Salvador, Salvador used to be the capital of Brazil back in the days. Salvador is in Bahia. Bahia is a nice country where maracatu was born. Maracatu is basically a type of drumming, a type of music, and it's like being in Africa, man. It's like so typical and traditional. It really moves you. I really love it.
Because I'm guessing at this point that there are obviously a lot of African descendants
definitely
in Brazil, because
the population is more black. I mean, it's there are more black people than anything else, to be honest.
There's quite a lot of Japanese people there as well, actually.
Japanese people, alongside Italian and German people, are actually in the south. Porto Alegre, Santa Catarina.
Argentina and stuff as well, actually. This is quite common.
Japanese people, in the south of
in Brazil? Yeah, it's like got the highest. I think my friend was telling me that it's the highest population of Japanese people outside of Japan. I don't know if that's true,
really?
But if you actually look at some footballers like Neymar and Firmino and stuff, they do actually. If you look at them, they actually have Oriental features. They actually do have Oriental features. It's quite interesting, yeah.
Well, it's the same thing for São Paulo for Italians. Italians is the biggest community of Italians outside Italy in São Paulo.
Am I right?
Not even in New York, they have so many Italians.
Vasco da Gama founded Brazil, and he was Portuguese, right?
I guess.
Yeah. Okay, I think so. I think he was Portuguese. Yeah. I was just wondering, why are there so many Italians?
Back in the days, there was a lack of work back
so
in Italy, I guess.
Okay.
So many people worked into sugar plantations, or I don't know. There must be an economical reason, to be honest. But, Italians. They went to Brazil. For coffee plantations.
Yeah, I'm guessing coffee.
Do you know these cartoons? You probably know Marco. You know,
no, I don't know.
Okay. Well, it was this? It's a very famous cartoon. It's about this Italian family, and the mom goes to South America to work.
Oh, interesting. Oh no, I never heard of that.
It's massive. It's
oh,
massive.
Really? Oh, interesting. But go on, continue about Carnival.
Oh, Carnival. Well, Salvador is one of the best ones, and it's kind of traditional, very typical. It's less touristy, although there are tourists there. But I chose Olinda, first of all because I had been already there in the first trip, so Carnival was in the second trip, and also because people are more open there. I mean, Salvador is nice. The reason why I want to go back there is actually to experience the Carnival in Salvador as well, because people talk really well about it. But I went to Olinda. Man, Olinda is a really small village, fairly small. What happened is that the streets are packed with people. You can't walk. Literally, you can't. You have to stay. You have to like walk little by little steps, and it's impossible. Imagine that on a hot weather. You sweating. It's impossible to actually not sweat within the first 10 minutes of being outside, and the whole thing smell, and there are so many people, and there is people sexually there are very open. What I found out is that a carnival is different between Olinda and Recife. Recife is bigger than Olinda, but for example, what happened in Olinda is that people kiss each other like nothing. They don't even ask you your name. They just, oh man, are you okay for? Yeah, of course, yeah, go ahead. And they just do anything, you know. Guy with guy, guy with girl, 2 girls and a guy, 3 guys, anything happens there. And they obviously are so concerned. I mean, the government is so concerned about things that could happen that they give actually free condoms. I mean, they're rubbish. I mean, the poorest quality of, and sachets of lubes as well. I mean, they're very prepared. There are these guys with massive bags giving out condoms. It's just,
that's so weird.
It's like, get prepared. For somebody who's never been there, it's like something is gonna happen here.
But imagine if they started doing it at like British festivals or something, just handing out condoms.
Well, that makes you think. That makes you think.
They must do it here in Pride here in.
That's a good point.
For example, when I
there we go.
Did you actually have a direct experience?
But when I arrived here, I was, because for several reasons I
I was living in a hostel for a month. So I met few friends in the hostel, and we used to go to have some beers every day.
Yeah.
And not the closest, but one of the closest places, it was Legends. I don't know if you know about it. It's a hotel, but it's, the ground bar is like a bar, and they also have a disco. They open till 7 in the morning, but it's gay. It's gay, but it's full of people who are not gay. Like straight people. But you're ordering there, and on the bar they have like baskets full of condoms.
Really?
Yeah, bro. Here in gay
it's like
places,
sweets, you know. You
bro,
just help yourself.
They just give you condoms. You know, like you just go and.
But that means something. It means that, especially in Brazil, people don't really care. That's why STDs are so common in Brazil. If you go for a sexual check at the clinic, you've been traveling. They ask you, "Have you ever been to Brazil?" Or have you been to Brazil recently? Just because they know that STDs there more than anywhere else is actually a big problem.
This is actually Stacey Dooley actually did a documentary. I think she did a documentary on this as well. And this happens, I suppose, quite often in more poorer communities. Is that they don't care. They kind of live fast, die young. Don't they?
And obviously they do everything with each other. They don't really care. It's like being an animal, to be honest. Sometimes that's what it happens. And obviously you share things, and you share diseases. So it's very easy to catch it.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Yeah.
So I mean, Carnival was a really nice experience. You have to be careful as anywhere else, to be honest. So you need to use your judgment. I am from Sicily. That means that I'm used to be careful because people can, rob you, and you have to be careful. I don't know. Here in England, people are safe. Obviously safer than in Italy, for example.
But I mean, there are still areas of London I wouldn't go to often.
For example, you got that point. But that means that the average British person abroad doesn't know how to protect themselves or himself. It's like, man, do you realize that you need to watch out? Because they don't understand it. So that's why you have to say it so many times.
Yeah, it's so true as well. Well, like so many other places in the world, South Africa, a place I'd love to go, South Africa. But I mean, I've heard so many people that say that you need to have someone there picking you up straight away from Johannesburg Airport, because there are people, they wait outside and they'll kill you for your phone and stuff like that. It's crazy.
It's not. I'm not having a go at English people. What I found is that northern countries normally are used to a higher level of security, and for example, I've been to a canyon, Chapada Diamantina, on my last trip, and I was having a tour, obviously with a guide, but I was in a team with a guy from Holland. Man, he told me he lost his phone 3 times in a week. It's like, how could you possibly do that?
What, in Brazil or just
in Brazil? No, in Brazil.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, man, I was drunk, I didn't watch it, and I was like, man, I wouldn't get drunk in Brazil on my own. The only reason why I would get drunk is because you, friend of mine, you're watching my back. It's like, I need to be sure I'm safe. You can't really lose control just because you want to have fun. Of course you can have fun without getting drunk, man. You can have a lot of fun in Brazil without getting drunk. But that's not possible. You can't really get
and it just comes up to being smart. Like you say, you've got to do your research for somewhere when you go to somewhere like Brazil. But one thing I want to talk to you about before we end it is you said so you went to the Amazon, Manaus. This is just something I want to ask you about because it's so big, man. Like it's so big and so diverse.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. Manaus is not a really interesting city, in my opinion. There is a little to do, to be honest, but the Amazon is spectacular.
Did you go into the jungle?
I did, of course. So you book a tour. I mean, I think you can go on your own, but this is not. I don't recommend you to do that.
No idea how it would work.
Most of the people going, they have to go with a guide, and literally, I know why. Because once you get there, it's just a mess. You don't know where to go. So you book this guide, and this guide basically takes you on a boat. It shows you Rio Grande, I think, and Rio Negro. It's basically a place where two different types of waters they merge.
Salt water and fresh water, or
one Rio Negro means black river, yeah. So you see, because of the vegetation in there, so obviously you see it dark, and the other river is actually white of sweet water or whatever it's called.
What's the name of it? What's the name of the river? Rio Dulce.
Rio Dulce. No, it's like Rio Grande or something like that. I don't know. I might be mistaken. I might say a lie. Yeah. But what happens is the two, in one point, they actually stay together without mixing. You see the different color, and it's just a nice experience, you know. Really cool. But then you go into the jungle. You go into some sort of like a hut.
It's a hut. It's not like tents or anything.
It's like a wooden type of shelter where you have your accommodation. It's quite nice actually for what it is. I mean, you're still in the Amazon, you know. And so I mean, the landscape is spectacular. You know, even from your room is spectacular. You obviously stay not in a single room. You stay with tons of other people. Yeah. But it's nice to actually get in touch, you know, share experiences and stuff like that. But you then you do excursions, you know, daily excursions. You do like paddling and stuff like that. You go catching caimans, you know, little crocodiles. Man, fishing piranhas. Piranha. Yeah. You can eat them as well. You do a lot of different stuff. But something that I really remember and I won't forget is actually sleeping in the jungle. So they actually take you from that shelter to further down the jungle, and literally you have only the hammock and a fire.
No mosquito net or anything.
You have a mosquito net, I'll give you that. I mean, otherwise you will be dead in the morning. Yeah. So you basically hang your hammock in the tree, on the tree, and you have to sleep there. Yeah. So before you do, obviously you have a meal. So the guide provides food, and something that they never lack is cachaça. Cachaça is what you do I forgot the name of the I'm not saying piña colada. No, it's not piña colada. I might remember in a minute. But cachaça is basically the alcohol to make a famous drink. Okay. With lime and sugar.
Mojito.
No, it's not mojito. Mojito is with mint. I can't remember the name.
I think I know.
So what's it called? With sugar,
lime, and cachaça. Cachaça is a type
I know that.
Yeah, I know it.
I can't remember, man. I've been drinking it the whole time I was there. I can't remember, you know. But it'll come up.
If the listeners know, message it.
It'll come up. It'll come up. And you know, you stay there with a few people, a group. You have a nice chat. You have a nice meal. Very, very rustic. Very simple. Like I really like this kind of things. Yeah. I'm not like a comfortable guy. Yeah. Caipirinha?
No. Is it?
I think it's caipirinha, isn't it?
Caipirinha?
No, I'm sorry. I think it's caipirinha.
Is it?
I think you're right. Yeah. And it's everywhere there.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And it tastes so nice anyway. But then after your meal, you have a chat, and you go to sleep. Well, now going to sleep in the middle of the jungle, if you've ever been there, that means that you need to put up with.
The jungle comes alive, doesn't it?
Noises, man. Yeah. Imagine it's pitch black. You can't see anything, and even if you have to go for a wee, you have to be careful because a deadly spider could be in your shoe, or a snake could be like just grabbing you.
It's scary that you don't see shit because your imagination just plays out. And
you have no idea.
Whatever you imagine, it's just gonna be whoa.
I recorded actually a very loud noise. It was from a monkey. Very far away. It was really loud, man. I don't know the name of it, but this monkey, I've been told, it's kind of a very little monkey.
Sorry, it was.
It's caipirinha, isn't it? Yeah.
Cachaça, sugar, and lime.
Yeah. So this monkey is very little, and he was very far away, but he was so loud. It was basically marking the territory. against other men.
I don't know, like, well, yeah, like I'd love to go to the Amazon. One thing I'd love to see, like, they're so rare, but the jaguar, like, but
Jaguars are not where I went. You have to go into the Pantanal, I think.
Yeah, they're deep. They go deep into the jungle. They have like the biggest bite force of any big cat, because when they attack, they go from the back and they go into the skull. So and like the things that they eat, they're called tapirs. And if you actually see the skull at the back of their head, they've got literally just a thick bit of bone, and the jaguar can just go straight through it. So if you think walking around there at night, going for a piss or whatever, you think that this guy can just come and take you out in a matter of seconds. Like it would go through your skull.
Well,
like, imagine easily.
Imagine this. Obviously, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
We were all scared about this.
Yeah.
Well, something that I noticed was the guide was like, okay, this is your bed, and I'll see you tomorrow. 3 seconds, boom, sleeping like,
really?
snoring like crazy, and we were like, man, what shall we do?
Yeah.
I literally stayed awake for another couple of hours just because I couldn't sleep. You know, it was every it was so loud that you couldn't sleep.
Yeah. But how long did you spend there?
A couple of days.
Did you get used to it in the end, like the noises, or is it just not?
The second day was easier.
Yeah.
But obviously, it takes a while to get used to it.
Because somewhere I think you'd like, because I stayed in Wadi Rum Desert for 2 weeks, and I was just sleeping out in the desert. But it's obviously at night it's really quiet. But then if you hear like one noise, like a dog and a camp on the other side of the desert, you can hear it, and that one noise is just louder than all of the other noises.
That's true. Just because it's silence everywhere, you can just hear it.
Yeah.
Hear
or like camels like walking past, and like sounds like Jurassic Park or something.
Yeah. But another very amazing experience I had was in the canyon, Chapada Diamantina. It's basically a vast area of mountains, and people go there hiking. Man, it's one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. It's just hiking up on the mountain, stay there in a resort. Not resort, obviously, it was very a poor arrangement.
Yeah.
But every day it was a challenge, also because of the sun. A guide said to me, the sun can kill you more than any animal in this.
Yeah. Like quickly, in a matter of hours. Like you hear so many stories like people in India. It's like they just get heat stroke and they just drop dead. Like it's mad. Like I mean, I've had heat stroke before as well, and it's such a. I imagine you must have had something.
I got burned a few times.
Yeah, I had heat stroke, and you literally just can't even think properly. It feels like your head is melting, and like you can't see properly. It's horrible.
As a tourist, you go there, like in short sleeves, stuff like that, without any hat, or in shorts as well. You're just like, oh, that's a nice day, let's go out. And you see the guide next to you, like wearing anything. He's all covered. It's like, what's wrong with you? You think, I mean, it's so hot. Why are you all covered? He's like, wait until the end. And I remember the last day, we were walking at the end. Obviously, it was nearly sunset. We were approaching a mountain nearly, so there could be some shadows in front of us. By the time I got into the shadows, I was like, finally some shadows, man. It's unbelievable. Also because it's an open space. You don't really have many trees or anything.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It is a challenge.
Yeah,
it is a challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine in such heat as well. But so we're going for an hour and a half now. So we'll try and wrap it up. But where next? If other than Brazil, where do you want to go other than Brazil? Because
I've been to Thailand, and it's nice, but Brazil has given me more. I would say I would carry on with Latin America, South America. I don't know where exactly. I'm trying to perfect my skills in salsa, so I can go to Cuba.
Cuba would be cool. Argentina as well would be.
Argentina at the moment is quite cool to go. It's very cheap, but people say there is not much there. I don't know. I have to do some search.
It's a massive country though. There's got to be something there.
I mean, everybody goes to
Patagonia as well in the south, right? That's still on the border.
Everybody goes to Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
But I think I could go to Mexico, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, I guess. That could be done.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to hopefully get some journalists come in to talk about Mexico in like the next few weeks or something. But actually like there was something that's really interesting ideas that Mexico might actually not be like, even though it's, I mean, it has its dangerous parts now, but last year was the most dangerous on record for the cartels. And it's basically is this 2 years ago there was not like a referendum but a discussion in Congress on whether to designate the cartels as terrorist groups. And if that's the case, and now and there weren't that many deaths in that year because obviously the cartels were aware of it, but now that they squashed that idea, the death toll rose again, and so now they think they're going to have that debate in Congress again, and this time it will be passed, which could lead to Mexican troops, American troops in Mexico in the next 5-6 years. And I actually think that's a real high possibility, because you read some of the stories coming out of Mexico now, and they're paramilitary groups. They have special forces officers from all over the world coming in to train them. They have armored vehicles. They'll rob Range Rovers, put the armor on them. They know there's a minigun somewhere attached to a Range Rover. You know what they have on Apache helicopters? The rail guns that they have on Apache helicopters. They know there's one of those attached to a Range Rover somewhere in Mexico. Wow. And if they use that for 2 minutes, that's a town wiped out.
I found something weird in Brazil in Carnival. I was basically obviously having fun with everybody else, but what I noticed was that the police is not just normal policemen. They like almost ready for a massive war, like the world is gonna end or something. They're like with weapons like I've never seen before. It's like, because why? Because they used to see things going crazy, and I was like, that's a bit too extreme, but that's what happens.
And then I mean, Israel's even crazier than that, because it's like everybody has to do military service, and you have to
even women,
even women, but you have to carry your gun with you at all times, even in your civilian clothes. So I've seen girls at the Dead Sea in their bikinis with an M16 assault rifle next to them.
I actually
18-year-old kids who wouldn't be able to headbutt my knee, and they've got an assault rifle on them. It's insane.
I actually met this girl in São Luís in Brazil. She was a policeman. She was carrying the gun everywhere. We went to the beach, and it's like, what are you doing? Because I didn't know she carried a weapon. So she was basically driving. Her gun was between her legs. It's like, and I didn't notice it at first, but I was like looking down. I was like, what is that? And I felt a bit uncomfortable, because obviously I'm not used to seeing guns.
Because we're not used to guns on the street. Like, that's not normal for us.
And she was absolutely alright. She said to me, I use it sometimes. I've killed people.
Really?
And it's normal here. You know, if you don't behave, you have to just... Because, I mean, you see the police here they don't even carry guns. They don't.
No.
In Italy we still do, but in here it's like, don't ever. In Brazil it's bad. Just for anything, you can risk a lot if you go against the police.
I can really imagine.
Careful.
Do you know there's like corruption in the police or not?
Oh, a lot
I
of
would have
corruption,
thought so. I would have thought.
I mean, consider this: in the favelas, they have no money, right? But they have guns. Do your maths, man. Where do the weapons come from?
They must be obviously brought in from the police, etc.
Or the government, if you want to.
There's actually the thing, going back to Mexico. There was these assault rifles. I think it was last year, 2 years. There were these assault rifles used in an attack on a town, and they traced the assault rifles, and the assault rifles had been sold to the cartels by the U.S. government. This is actually like fact. The government had sold the cartels assault rifles, and then when it all came out, they were like, "Oh, we were using them to track them," or something like that. But it all seems so like fishy as well. Like, you know, you're selling them assault rifles. It's not like you're selling them cars. Like, it all sounds so fishy. So I'm sure there are areas of the government which are selling weapons to the gangs. It must happen all over the world.
I mean, these kind of experiences help you grow, and I'm happy I had bad experiences and good experiences. Something that I noticed is that sometimes police, I mean, there is a lot of crime, especially in Carnival. I actually got like 5 or 6 pounds stolen from my pocket, and I'm really careful. But people are like,
you just can't notice.
You can't absolutely. And sometimes the police just stops other people and search them, and if you don't collaborate, I've seen it, the police actually hits you, like but not hits you like in a nice way. They actually just kick you, even if you're on the floor, like something like that. This is so hard, man.
They can get away with it.
This
I'm
is
guessing
so
this
hard.
is why so many people carry guns as well, because they can't trust the police.
Yeah, and that's why the police is like.
That's the idea why North America, like guns are allowed, because you have the right as a citizen to defend yourself against the government. If the government get crazy and they go against people, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very tough argument, isn't it?
Well, in America they go crazy buying a lot of ammunitions and guns just because with the COVID-19 they feared they fear that people were going crazy, so they had to protect against each other.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always, I suppose we can't get into the gun issue too much, but there's always that way of just, you know, there's got to be a way to regulate it, isn't there? You know, as long as you shouldn't be allowed, a 14-year-old shouldn't be allowed to go buy a gun like they can in Texas.
It's just
you need a
bad
license
idea
or something
to have such a deadly thing, like. Think when you get angry and you lose control of yourself. Imagine you're drunk, that happens, and you have a fucking gun on you. Yeah. What you might do, it's unfixable, you know.
It's unfixable. You know? It's unfixable.
That's what happens there all the time.
So much.
A friend of mine from Czech Republic, he uses guns just for hunting back in his country, and he went to Texas, I guess, and he likes shooting. Wherever he does, and he went to Texas and he was like, "Can I shoot?" And the other guy was like, "Yeah, you can have a gun. I just need your name." Literally, you give them your name and surname. A bloody foreigner.
That's it.
And that's it.
Bloody foreigner.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. That's ridiculous. That's
it is unbelievable.
Like I appreciate, obviously. I suppose obviously people who do live in Texas and stuff, they do have big areas of land where you probably do get wild animals attacking livestock and stuff. I do understand there would be a reason to have a gun, but you can't. There's no need to be able to just go in and buy it like any old supermarket.
Texas is crazy. I've heard of Dallas, which is like you need to be careful about people. You know, just people carrying the guns like it was the. 300 years ago. You know?
Like, not even that. To be fair, this is the thing. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption recently. That was only 130 years ago. That these people walking around with guns and robbing trains and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's okay.
Also there in America, like some people, and I think in Texas and in these states that are massive, like some areas, people live alone and the next house is like a few miles away.
Yeah.
Like
massive,
literally, if
like
someone gets in there, like you're not gonna have no one around to help you around.
There's another.
There's also like this culture of cowboys there still.
100%.
And they're really proud of that.
But I was discussing this with someone on another podcast that this I think it was March, was the first month where there hadn't been a school shooting in America in like 18 years. They're in March because all the schools were closed because of coronavirus. I mean, what kind of life is that? Like, you know.
What was it?
So basically, in March of this year, because of I think it was March. It was month this year when schools were shut because of the coronavirus. That was the first month where there had been no school shootings in the whole of the United States in about 18 years. In about whole of 18 years. The only reason no one was shot in school was because no one went to school.
Wow.
I mean,
that's how you can avoid it.
I mean, isn't that as well? Like, you go to school to avoid learning about going into guns and things like. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's another world to me. I can never understand. It's a different culture.
It's quite tricky.
Yeah, it's a different world to me.
It's very like in the culture of them as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, if you listen to rap music, there is a lot.
There's a reverence of guns, like people think it's cool.
Some people are born with a gun.
It's unbelievable. But right, I think we'll wrap up that episode now. As I said, we've been going for an hour and a half.
Okay,
Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming on, guys. Do you want to give your Instagram and stuff to go check out your social media?
I mean, my Instagram is ipse dixit with two. I don't know what's it called.
Underscores.
Yeah,
underscores. It'll be in the bio.
My Instagram is basically my name and surname, so Pol Oliveras Paris all together.
All right, lovely. Thank you guys. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it.